Adding and subtracting fractions is a little bit trickier than multiplying and dividing fractions. You have to have a common denominator in order to add or subtract fractions. So in the first couple of examples there, where we already have denominators that are identical, it's pretty straightforward. 2 over 7 plus 3 over 7, all we have to do is add the numerators. And if you remember back to when we first introduced fractions, think of the numerator as the number of pieces, right? So here we have something broken up into 7 pieces. We have 2 of those, and something similarly broken up into 7 pieces, and we have 3 of those. And so we're just adding those pieces, and we end up with 5 pieces, each piece representing 1/7 of the total. So we end up with 5/7. Pretty straightforward. Subtracting, not really any different. If the denominators are the same, it's like saying the piece sizes are the same, and so we have 5 pieces minus 2 pieces gives us 3 pieces. Now, as always, whenever you do one of these problems, you should try to reduce the answer. 3 over 9 can be reduced. There's a common factor of 3 in the numerator and the denominator, and so this reduces to 1/3. Now, what if the denominators are not the same? So, a half plus a quarter, for instance. As I've said in the box over on the right, finding the lowest common denominator, which is crucial for adding and subtracting fractions, is really the same as finding the least common multiple of the denominators. So it's really important you've already got that skill down pat. So a half plus a quarter. To find the lowest common denominator is pretty straightforward in this case. You know that it's 4, and so it's pretty easy just to add a half and a quarter by making a half into 2 over 4. But we want a technique that's going to work a little bit better for us here and always work. What you're really doing is creating an equivalent fraction. 1/2 is really 2 over 2. Sorry, 1/2 can be multiplied by 2 over 2 to create a fraction that has a denominator of 4. And remember, if you're multiplying by 2 over 2, you're not changing the value of the fraction. It's an equivalent fraction. But the result is a fraction that has a denominator of 4. And now that we have two fractions with the same denominator, it's easy to add them. 2 over 4 plus 1 over 4 is 3 over 4. Let's try that again for the subtraction there. 7 over 10 minus 2 over 5. So we can create a common denominator just by multiplying the second fraction by, again, 2 over 2. Now, this seems pretty straightforward because it's pretty easy to find the common multiple of 10 and 5. They're obviously, they have a multiple of 10. Now, what do we end up with here? We end up with 7 over 10 minus 4 over 10, and that becomes simply 3 over 10. When the denominators are a little trickier, a little harder to find the least common multiple or lowest common denominator, here's a technique that works. 10 and 15. What's the greatest common factor of 10 and 15? It's 5. So what we can do is break apart these denominators into factors. 2 times 5 and 3 times 5. Now, what's the point of doing this? Well, remember, the lowest common multiple just simply has one of each of those factors. And so, to create a common denominator, I just need to have a 2, a 5, and then I ask myself, what am I missing? What does the other fraction have that this one doesn't have? It doesn't have a 3. So I just go 2 times 3 times 5. And same thing here. What's this second fraction denominator missing that the first one has? It's missing a 2, and 2 times 3 times 5. Now, of course, I have to make sure that I'm multiplying the numerator by the same thing. Otherwise, I'm going to be creating a totally different fraction and not an equivalent fraction. So, what did I multiply the denominator by? I multiplied it by 3. That means I must multiply the numerator by 3. So what I've really done is multiply it by 3 over 3. And same thing here. What have I multiplied this one by? 2. And so what I've done is created an equivalent fraction. Now, 2 times 3 times 5 is 30. So I have 9 over 30 plus 4 over 30 Now the denominators are the same. It's pretty easy. It's 13 over 30. And they don't have any common factors, and so it can't be reduced. Let's try that again for 7 over 12 minus 5 over 18. Greatest common factor of 12 and 18 is 6. So this becomes 2 times 6, and this becomes 3 times 6. What's the first fraction missing that the second one has? It's missing that 3. So I'll multiply this by 3 over 3. What's the second fraction missing that the first one has? A 2. So I'll multiply that by 2 over 2. So what do I end up with? The denominator is 3 times 2 times 6 in both cases. The numerator is here 21 and here 10. 21 minus 10 is 11, and now we can multiply that denominator, 3 times 2 times 6, which is 36. And 11 over 36 can't be reduced because there's no common factor for 11 and 36.